We're covering, of course, the midterm elections all day and into the evening. One of the key states is going to be Pennsylvania, particularly that Senate race there. We turn now to our colleague, Kailey Leinz, who is covering the Pennsylvania race from Philadelphia. So, Kailey, thank you so much for being with us. Give us a sense. I understand we have basically in a dead heat for the Senate race.
Yeah, it's incredibly tight, David. After Fetterman enjoyed a lead for much of this campaign, of course, the Democratic Lieutenant Governor, John Fetterman, who is up against Republican candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz in this race, his lead that he had for most of the campaign has entirely evaporated. And now actually the average polling on 538 shows that Dr. Oz is ahead by about 0.5%. So this is going to be a nail biter, but we may be biting our nails and waiting for a result for some time. Of course, we will start to get results tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, but we need to be aware that there could be a red mirage effect because the results that will become public first will be more for in-person, which Republicans are more likely to vote in that way. Mail-in ballots are heavily Democratic. 1.2 actually now million mail-in ballots have been returned here in Pennsylvania, and of those, about 70% were those for registered Democrats, and those will take a lot longer to count. The rules here in Pennsylvania dictate that they couldn't begin counting mail-in ballots until 7 a.m. this morning, which is why election officials have warned it could be days before we get a final tally, and why Democratic votes may start showing up later in the count. One other thing I would note about mail-in voting here in Pennsylvania is that the state Supreme Court ruled last week that any mail-in ballot that does not have the date printed outside on the envelope cannot be counted. So that could have an influence. And finally, David, on the subject of mail-in balloting, one of the reasons that the race has tightened to such an extent in recent weeks is because of the debate performance of John Fetterman, who suffered a stroke back in May. His performance in the debate really highlighting that he is still struggling from the effects of that, and one of the reasons why voters may have started to question his fitness for office. But more than 500,000 mail-in votes had already been sent in prior to the debate, so we will see if that is something of a saving grace for the Democratic candidate. But again, David, it could be a while before we know if he ultimately pulled it off and is able to flip that Senate seat, which of course is currently held by the retiring Republican Pat Toomey.